Hello, hello, my dear friends. Welcome back. I have a wonderful video for you all today. Enty Lawyer and I had a wonderful chat the other day, and after sharing the contents on his Patreon first, Enty has graciously sent over a copy of our conversation for me to share with you all here. So pour yourself your favorite beverage, kick your feet up, relax, and have a listen to all of the delicious tea spilled. We covered a wide range of topics regarding the dastardly duo of Montecito and their never-ending shenanigans, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. I'd like to say a huge thank you to Enty for our wonderful chat. If you aren't already following Enty on his Patreon at Enty Lawyer, well, what the heck are you waiting for? You can also read Enty's blinds on crazydaysandnights.net and follow him here on YouTube also. I will include all of his links in the description box below, my friends. Enough of my ramblings. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of our conversation, and I will catch you in the next one, my beautiful friends. Stay gorgeous, my lovelies. Take care. Bye.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. It is the first day of August, the first day of the month. And what better way to start off the first day of the month than to have a frequent favorite on the podcast, Meghan's Mole. Meghan, how are you?
I am doing great. I should say thank you for having me on because you are my favorite.
So I enjoy having you on. I enjoy the perspective. I enjoy talking about it. And honestly, I feel like on on the podcast, I will talk about Harry and stuff,
Mhm.
but it feels like it's better if there's somebody to kind of bounce things around with and kind of talk about, what people are thinking. And there's been a lot of Harry in the news. And I feel like that there has been less of Meghan, although if I look at your, Twitter/X or whatever, you generally have wonderful things to put on there that, I just don't catch. There's just, too much going on. So it's good to see you putting all that stuff out there and all the little, oh, look what she did here. Look what she did there kind of thing. And, pushing Harry aside and stuff like that. And I think that really, when I see those things from you, it's very telling, and it kind of puts an insight that that's not normally available because people don't generally analyze a little behind the scenes stuff. So I'm glad that you're doing that.
There's a whole different, I think I like to bring a whole different perspective or a whole different set of eyes to things that people don't usually pay attention to, as you said, like just little mannerisms and just little, like even a lot of people say to me, why are you bringing up these images from the past? Well, now that you know more about them, these images and these pictures that you're seeing take on a whole different meaning to you that was clearly obvious to me from the very beginning. And I like just opening people's eyes more to the fraud that is Harry and Meghan and this whole crusade that they're leading to
Let me
make the
ask you,
world better.
let me
Yeah.
ask you this, because somebody asked me on my Q&A and I didn't go back and I didn't look. And so, but I'm sure that you have, but they asked me, they said that page 6 was saying that Harry wasn't actually going to get an inheritance, from, great grandma. I,
Mhm.
I find that hard to believe. What have you seen anything like that?
So from what I heard is that Princess Anne is the one who pulls the strings connected to his inheritance. And I heard that that was pushed to him turning 45, and that's when he'll receive it. I page 6 had ran a story right before that rebuttal that Harry was receiving an inheritance and it was going to be more than Prince William's. And I just started laughing because Prince William is in charge of something that is called the Duchy of Cornwall.
Right.
And that itself, I think he gets paid out a salary of, I think, 22 million pounds from it this year. And I'm sitting here laughing about, oh, Harry, this story about Harry receiving an $8 million inheritance. Like, to me, I just found it funny. I'm like, the money, number one, is probably gone already. It's probably spent on Meghan's PR and her wigs and teeth and whatnot. But it was funny. There's been a lot of puff pieces out about Harry and Meghan over the last week. That has been crazy. Well, I think it's to cover for that mess that was the Pat Tillman Award. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I'm going to say one thing about that in this, and I'll get to that. And what I do know, I think that Queen Elizabeth, not the Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth, because we were just talking about the Queen Mother's money, but Queen
Yeah.
Elizabeth's money, I think that she actually did give Harry more than William in her will, just because she knew that William was going to get, a bunch of, Duchy of Cornwall money.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, Williams, obviously making bank. Now, as the Pat Tillman thing, I think that it was the first time that Harry and Meghan kind of realized, hey, people don't like us,
Hmm.
because they had always everything. And I've said this, is that every event they've ever gone to is generally, let's say, an event where they're getting paid, or an event where they are the stars of the show. Let's take a random thing. Let's go to the Bob Marley thing in Jamaica, right? They're the biggest stars there. We have Brian Robbins, and he says, hey, so they're the biggest stars there. Let's say Harry is getting paid by Better Up to be at a seminar or to speak or something like that. He's the biggest star. So nobody's going to boo. But at the ESPY Awards, they're not the biggest stars. They're not the second biggest stars. They're not the third biggest stars. They're not they're way down the list.
Bottom of the barrel.
Exactly. I mean, obviously everybody knows their name, but that doesn't make you a huge celebrity. And I also found it disquieting and upsetting that they left early. And I know that they had various excuses, but I think I brought this up maybe in the radio show last week, or somebody asked. And if you think about it, if Meghan's supposed to be Serena Williams's best friend or one of her best friends, okay, this is kind of like leaving early out of her show. We're not talking about Serena Williams just being another member of the audience. We're talking about Serena Williams being a host.
Mhm.
And that was just like, oh, you're leaving early. You're leaving early for my thing. It's like if I was in a play and you're supposedly my best friend and you leave early.
What a great supportive friend am I to do that, right? I mean, to me, it just seems like Meghan, who loves to call herself a fighter for women and loves to support women, but she didn't even go to Serena's the after party too that was being hosted, right? They just completely booked it in the middle of whatever was going on, and they got booed and with their gaggle of bodyguards. Now, what do you think? This is what I wanted to ask you. What do you think of Harry and Meghan? Clearly, they are not the most high net worth couple there. And they are walking around with like six bodyguards inside a closed area. What do you think of that? Like, what do people think, like, in the entertainment industry when they see these two walking around with a bunch of bodyguards around? Like, people must make fun of them, right?
Yeah. If you think about it, in LA, they're not A+ listers, let's say, but there's plenty of A-listers that you see out and about. They're just by themselves, right? They probably have stalkers. They probably have, fans that are crazy and stuff like that, but they're just walking around living their normal life. Why do you need to bring bodyguards to a closed event? So if they went to the Academy Awards, would they have to have 5 or 6 or 7 people with them? I don't really understand that. Now, I understand. Let's put this in kind of perspective. The Indian guy that got married recently, right? The richest guy
Funny.
in, yeah. So I saw pictures of he and his wife out on the streets of Paris, I think yesterday. Not just pictures, it was video. And this guy had, somebody to open up the car. He had probably 2 or 3 bodyguards, but they are out in the middle of this. He's worth billions and billions and billions of dollars. And I'm sure that there are people that would like to kidnap him or his wife or whatever, hold them for ransom. There's probably somebody out there. So why not have a couple, 3 bodyguards when you're walking around in public? But at the same time, he's walking around in public. He's acknowledging, he's talking to people. He's, bowing to people. He's saying hi and all this kind of stuff, and very, very friendly. And
Hmm.
it just, and then you see people like Tom Cruise, who I'm not a fan of, but let's say he's at Wimbledon. He didn't have 5 bodyguards with him when he's, in the box at Wimbledon or anything like that. He didn't have bodyguards trailing him around any part of the Wimbledon tennis area. He probably had a driver, to pick him up and take him wherever and stuff, but he didn't have anybody there. And it's just, I don't understand. There's nobody going after Meghan and Harry.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah. That's why I just find it so funny and so comical that they would need like 6 bodyguards with them inside. Where was the SPs being held at again? I forget. Inside the location that it was like there's no one inside where you're sitting. There's
Correct.
like it just I just feel like when Harry and Meghan leave every event and they make a big scene with all their bodyguards and stuff, that people must be laughing and whispering afterwards. Like, look at these 2 idiots.
Yeah. I mean, and then to put it into like perspective or whatever, let's say Taylor Swift. I saw a video of her coming back to her hotel after her Munich show. She gets in a
Mhm.
car, and there's probably 4 cars. And there was one bodyguard in the driveway when they're pulling into the hotel to basically make sure that no other cars are trying to sneak in behind and come into the parking lot. But that's basically all he was doing. And when she gets to the hotel, she gets out and she goes inside. And, I would argue that, yes, she had probably the equivalent number of bodyguards, but at the same time, she's in this, motorcade kind of thing, and they're just going from, the arena to the hotel. And she is probably a much bigger target than Harry and Meghan. And it's not like she has bodyguards swarming around her. When she goes to, the Grammys or something, there's not 6 bodyguards inside the Grammys with her. There's just not. When she was at Coachella, right? She's
Yeah.
standing out in the audience with Travis, and we had Teresa Giudice from Real Housewives of New Jersey come up and take a picture. And the only person to try and stop Teresa from taking a picture was Travis, and he's because he didn't recognize her, which is not surprising. But she's just in the crowd with like tens of thousands of people. There's no
Yeah.
bodyguards.
So do you think them walking around with this bodyguards and everything is just a because you had mentioned a while back that you think that the American government is paying for some sort of security for them to keep them safe in the States. So do you think that they're just doing all this just to get more credibility towards Harry's security case that's
I,
ongoing?
I don't understand Harry's security case because this is
Tell me about
okay.
it.
Okay. This is okay. This is what I've been able to glean. Okay. And I do. The United States is not going to let Harry be assassinated. Okay. Are they following him everywhere he goes? Is it like Secret Service protection? No. Do they probably keep an eye on his house and have somebody generally watching it? Yes. And they're probably paying for it. The US is paying for it. But let's go to the UK. So Harry feels perfectly comfortable going to England by himself, right? He's not afraid of an acid attack or a knife attack. He's perfectly happy, perfectly willing to do that. Now,
Mhm.
the all the UK government has said is that he has to pay for it and that he can't use government people is the way I understand it. In the US, you often hire off-duty sheriff's deputies or police or whatever. They make a good living doing these like club security, whatever. They're there. And from what I understand is the British government says you can't hire those people, but you can have your own people and pay for that. So I don't really understand the difference. He's paying for it in the United States with their supplemental security, but he's paying for it in the United States. I feel like it's just an excuse so that way Meghan, because she doesn't ever want to go back to England.
Mhm. She's completely afraid of that. She hates it there. Do you think she's afraid that they might find out something, the DNA well, I know you don't really like talking about this
I
topic,
don't.
but
I don't talk about
let me go off of this
Okay.
topic. Let me go off of here. Let me just say, okay, so besides their craziness, because I know Harry has to give a 28-day notice before he goes into the UK, and he doesn't want to do that, but he also wants his intelligence and his security to have access to UK secure information. That's what he wants. And basically, they're saying no. But I feel like Harry and Meghan are just looking for just other countries to constantly pay for them. Because I don't know if you heard earlier this morning, they announced that Harry and Meghan are going to Colombia for a visit there. Did you hear about this? After
No,
Harry was just on, did an exclusive with People, did a sit down with ITV whining about his security. They were just in Nigeria. And now today it's been announced that Harry and Meghan are going to Bogota.
yeah, I'm not sure why you'd want to go there, but here's the thing. They will probably go there and here they'll say, you know what, we need 30 or 40 security people and you guys got to pay for it. And Colombia's like, okay, fine, we'll pay for it. What do we care? Um, but to go into a much more dangerous area than London. Let me give you, and I don't know if I told you this because I don't know the last time we talked, I don't know if I had watched the video or not. So if I have, remind me and I'll be quiet about it. But there was a TikTok video and there's these bikers and they're biking in Balmoral in Scotland, right? And they're just basically documenting their trip and they're staying at like little huts and stuff like that. And it's all just kind of innocuous. And but they've teased it in part 1 and I'm on part 6 at this point. But they said when we met the king. And so I'm like sticking through all of these parts to get to it. And finally they do. And King Charles is out there. And this is not that long ago. This is, after his cancer diagnosis, whatever. And he's out there just walking with his walking stick. And he stops and he has a lovely chat with these guys. There's no bodyguards in any frame of any camera. And there's probably 4 or 5 bikers. And I think 2 have cameras at this point. One was pretty much the whole time. And then somebody else added one. You don't see any bodyguards. You don't see anything. Dude is just out for a walk in Scotland with his walking cane. And he stops and he talks to these people, for a solid, I don't know how much they edited, but 5 or 6 minutes. Just, and no, I'd like to do this. And oh, yeah, these huts that these guys were staying in. He goes, when I was younger, I used to stay in those, but William and Harry were never really like that. The kids don't really like to stay in those. And they just had this lovely chat. And I'm thinking, this is the King of England. And yes, I'm sure that there is a bodyguard out of the frame or whatever, but he's just out in the open. And then you see like William and people always say, you don't say Kate, say Princess Catherine, but Princess Catherine and whatever, but William out walking through the market and stuff like that. And it just, I feel like he has far less bodyguards, far fewer people than Harry. And then, as you said, you're at the ESPY Awards. There's already tons of security there. Everybody's gone through a metal detector. And if you don't think the A-listers aren't going through a metal detector, you're wrong. And it's just like, okay, I don't understand it. And it all comes down to Meghan doesn't want to go to England. So how can we do this? We're just going to keep beating this dead horse, knowing that they're never going to change their answer. Can you imagine if King Charles or William or whoever says, fine, we'll pay for it. We'll give you 50 people just as soon as you walk off the plane. Then what are they going to do? Bluff called. I still don't think they go.
Mm-hmm. Well, even if they were to go, like, it's Harry. Harry gets security in the UK regardless. It doesn't matter. It's the king's son. He's going to have security. He's going to be secure. I think it's all about Meghan being afraid to get hit by a tomato, or when she rolls down one of her car windows, someone's going to boo her. I think that's what it's about. I think she just wants to live her life being like in my opinion, a human leech, and leech off of the titles of the Duchess of Sussex, despite her calling the whole royal family all racists. And she just wants to go about living her own life, doing what she wants. Like, she just showed up in the Hamptons trying to siphon money off of people by using her titles for ARO. This is what she wants. But the royal family are racist and bad. So I think it's got to do with the UK public. She knows she's not liked. She'll probably get booed, so she never wants to go back there. That's what I think.
I think so too. And if you think about like the Hamptons, because
Hmm.
we but she, at the ESPYs, and like I said, this is a defining moment because they've always been the home team, kind of, so to speak. They've
Yeah.
never been the visitors. They've never, maybe they're just like, oh my gosh, people hate us. We already knew that. But now these people are actually vocalizing that they're not fans. They don't like Harry getting the award. And Disney had to go to the mat to say, no, we're not going to pull it. He's going to go ahead and he's going to get it. And, and to have Pat Tillman's mom be so upset about the whole thing. And then she shows up in the Hamptons, and a couple of people asked me on the Q&A this month, they asked, have you ever noticed that Meghan's clothes are so ill-fitting?
Hmm.
And and i and my answer was, because I don't have the best answer, but my answer was, I feel like some days she wears the padded bra and some days she doesn't. And so that's number one. And then number two, the Ozempic, or she's probably not taking Ozempic, she's probably taking Manjaro, but that is also just, and these clothes just hang on her. And I think it's because it just, do you have any like explanation for why it's so ill-fitting other than the two things that I've mentioned?
Well, I have one big theory,
Okay.
but let me, before I get to that, I think that number one, when she contacts these fashion houses, I think she basically lies about her sizes and gives her size. Like she thinks she is model size. She thinks she is 5'9", like Catherine. She thinks she's 5'7". So she's getting the wrong sizes. Like she's getting the sample sizes sent to her and they don't fit her. But also a part of me wonders because I'm speaking on this based on my own experience. Now, when I was younger, I used to have a pretty bad eating disorder, okay?
Okay.
And I would wear loose fitting clothes to give the image that I look smaller. Now, I think Meghan is wearing the loose fitting clothes to make it seem to the public like, oh, she's rapidly losing weight so that she can get that Diana connection because Diana did have an eating disorder. So I think that she wants us to feel sorry for her. Like, oh, look at the way her clothes are hanging off of her. Like she looks so thin and frail. And maybe this is her way of laying the groundwork for divorce eventually. Like she could be saying in the public, look at how much Harry has stressed me out with all of his nonsense and his court cases that I'm withering away. My clothes don't fit me. They hang off of me now because no self-respecting woman would walk out into public looking as disheveled as she does all the time. It's constant. And that was just what I thought was just, okay, is she doing that because she later wants to play the Diana connection where she has an eating disorder, she's losing weight, she's stressed out, just maybe she'll eventually one day say that she's going to throw herself down some stairs like Diana too. Who knows? I don't know. That's just what I think. What do you like? Am I off by thinking
No,
that a bit?
I don't think so at all. But then if you want to take that a step further, then you have to bring in, a mistress or two, for Harry, to be the equivalent of Charles and stuff. I think that you'd have to do that. Um, I
Well, you
that
did mention the blonde surfer, didn't you?
Yeah,
Sorry.
there is a blonde surfer who works at this, um it's a surf shop. Let's just call it a surf shop in Carpinteria, which
Mhm.
is basically the town immediately adjacent to Montecito.
Mhm.
And it's a tiny little strip kind of Carpinteria, this part of it anyway, is very, very tiny. This is not the proper town of Carpinteria. But it's technically Carpinteria. And
Mhm.
there's a restaurant that's right next to the train, and there's a place that kids can play, and there's a surf shop, and there's another couple of restaurants, and then there's a place that has been a variety of different things. And if you want to go, it's Padero Beach is kind of the technical term, and the exit is Santa Claus Lane. If you want to go look, and you can see the blonde who works in the surf shop.
Ooh,
Um,
yeah, you don't know what you've just started by giving those details. You know, someone's going to be down there with a camera.
so yeah, so the blonde works in the surf shop, and they rent surfboards, and they have surf lessons and stuff like that. And so that is the blonde there. And then there's, you know, I wonder what sometimes when I think about Meghan going to the Hamptons,
Hmm.
and okay, so you're going, and I understand why she's going there, right? She's looking, she's like, okay, ARO is about to start. I need some influencers. I need some people to, you know, promote the products or whatever. And these people are my kind of people. And I like to rub shoulders with all these people that wouldn't have even had me here, 10 years ago, and have them say, oh my gosh, look at you. You're amazing. And look at your love bracelets on your arms and all this kind of stuff. And I think that she wanted to feel wanted and validated. And you brought up a very good point in a email that we had about why wasn't Harry there? And then I think you said that Nacho was in the Hamptons, right?
Yeah, he had a polo event there. He had hosted a polo event and he was playing. So I was surprised not to see Harry there also with Delphina and Megan hanging out with the rest of the polo wives.
Did Megan hang out with Nacho's wife at all?
Not at all. No photos. She wasn't even invited to Gwyneth Paltrow's kickoff event at the Goop Pharmacy on the Friday night.
Well, that
She,
I understand because
yeah.
she's a competitor. So I get that part. And I think that, Gwyneth isn't going to do Megan any kind of favors or anything like that. Um, so that one doesn't surprise me, but it surprises me that Harry, so, okay. So Harry, um, he goes, I don't really feel like going all the way across the country. And, I had a blind, I think today, maybe yesterday, probably today. And it talked about the fact that, flying private or whatever, and, who pays those bills? And because they don't always get free ones. So then you
Mhm.
have, Harry paying the bill and stuff. And I just, Megan, oh, I'm going to go to the Hamptons and oh, da, 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 da. And it seems pointless. There's no, okay, people go to the Hamptons from New York because New York is miserable in the summer, right?
Mhm.
So the rich people get out of Manhattan, they get out of, the downtown, and they go to the Hamptons, and they, oh, it's beach weather, and they're around their own, and all of this kind of stuff. And I get that. She lives in Montecito. She has 365 days a year of perfect beach weather.
Mhm.
Why does she go all the way across the country? It's because there's nobody in Montecito anymore that wants anything to do with her. There's nobody in Montecito that she can go, oh, I need some kind of, support and influencers and stuff like that. I think that she's going to end up dealing with influencers who are like B list, C list, eh, because I think that she wants to interact with these rich people and think that they're going to influence somebody, and they're really not. There's very few influencers that actually have any influence.
But do these I'm just wondering, like, do these rich people because, like, the one woman that Megan kept her claws on the entire time, Jamie Kern-Lima, the founder of IT Cosmetics, she sold it to L'Oreal for $1.2 billion. dollars. Now, do these like, I would think a woman who built a company from nothing to where it was could see the type of woman that Megan is from a mile away. They could see that she brings no substance. She really has nothing to offer. So why would she even like give the attention to Meghan Markle?
Okay, a couple things. I think that Megan was probably the one that, more or less initiated this stuff. But I
Mhm.
think that Megan has a makeup problem on her hands. And the makeup problem that she has on her hands is that Blake Lively is starting a makeup line. And Blake Lively is going to get first shot at whatever companies that she wants. And I think that Megan was like pushed out of that and now is scrambling to find some kind of, makeup supplier. So here you go. You have the woman who sold everything to L'Oreal, but she's got those contacts. And so because Megan needs that line, and what is she going to do? She can't go with the whole color pop thing because that's already been done. And I think that color pop is not with the image that she's trying to go for. So she can't have a branded product from color pop. Although honestly, that would be her best bet. Um, but I think that she wants something more exclusive and something. So she goes to this woman and says, hey, what can you do for me? And things like that. That's that's my line of thinking with that. And coming on the heels of Blake saying that she's going to have a makeup line, and the next thing you know, you have Meghan in the Hamptons talking to a makeup person.
But the difference between Blake and other stars is that they actually do the work and get products out, whereas Meghan has a track record of absolutely screwing up everything and getting nothing out. There was
Yeah.
the story that, what is it? That even her cooking show is being put off till next year. So the thing, like, I don't understand is that this woman has clearly built herself up. She has probably seen a lot on her way to the top. If someone was coming to me with a track record of 0 for 0 and 0, why would I be associating myself? Like, I don't understand why these women associate themselves with Meghan. Is it because she is the Duchess of Sussex?
Yeah, I think it's that connection to royalty, maybe. And that's the only thing that I can really think of is they're just like, oh, it would be nice to meet her.
Mhm.
And okay, and just, you know, get a sense of who she is because, oh, I've just seen her on things or whatever. And I'd like to get a sense of her. And, you know, this entrepreneur, this woman who started that company or whatever, and then she gets a sense of her. Um, I think that the cooking show something because depending on who you read, oh, it's a lovely cooking show. If it was a lovely cooking show and really good, cooking shows are the easiest thing to crank out, right?
Mhm.
I mean, think about how fast cooking shows now can come out. Now, there are exceptions. Like the Holiday Baking Championship is
Mhm.
filmed like in April, okay, or May. And so it comes out obviously at the holidays and stuff. But other than that, for the most part, it's just like film it, go, film it, go, film it, go, film it, go. If you think about, you know, whoever versus Bobby Flay, you know, they can film 4 or 5 of those in a day or 3 in a day. And, you know, they just crank them out. And Netflix, I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you're going to wait till next year, which is 5 months away, and how many episodes are there? And, you know, because I was thinking if I was going to do it, wouldn't she have like a holiday episode, right? If you're going
Yeah.
to do it in a cooking show, wouldn't you have holiday and wouldn't you have like decorations on a tree or something like that? And if they're going to wait till next year, that means they don't have a holiday special, unless they're going to wait till October of 2025. And I was like, okay, so is it a spring thing? Did she, because she did film it mainly in the spring. So is it going to be like a Easter themed? And that's why we're waiting. But okay, were your plans you were going to sit on this for a year before it comes out? I don't understand that. It takes 5 minutes to edit these things. Um, so
Yeah.
I don't get why it's taking so long. It makes zero sense to me. And if it's horrible, okay, it's horrible. And let's get her back in and let's reshoot it. We'll tell her what's wrong and we'll do it again. I don't understand the delay on that. That's like the delay on a movie. They can make a blockbuster movie, film it now, and you know, have it come out next year. This is a cooking show.
Yeah, you see, like, I see you're on YouTube now. Like, we see YouTubers load up cooking content like every day.
Yeah,
It's
because it
like,
makes them a lot of money. And the
yeah.
same on TikTok. It's just like, let's do a video. Let's do a video. And you know, they do the cooking, they edit it, and it's out the next day. Right.
So
And
do you think it's just Meghan being difficult? Do you think it's her just wanting to be the boss and turning down everyone's ideas and the producers and just being difficult with them? That's why nothing ever comes to fruition with her?
this is what I thought. I thought honestly that she was gonna time this cooking show with ARO. Okay.
Mhm.
Because it makes sense. If you're
Yeah.
gonna have a bunch of like products and things, let's say the jam or whatever, like let's say frying pans. And I'm not saying she's gonna have frying pans, but let's say cooking things, aprons, whatever, or something to go along with, oh, you know, this holiday kind of thing. And you know, you can buy it on ARO or whatever. I thought it was just gonna be this tie-in, which makes perfect sense. So when you're talking about waiting till next year, does that also mean that ARO is waiting till next year? Because I don't understand why you wouldn't have the two launching at the same time.
Yeah. That would have been the perfect thing. I mean, or at least when she'd have her cooking show, have your products on your cooking show and have it released onto the website when your cooking show goes live. Like none of this makes sense to me, which is why I don't understand why these other women in business are basically like pandering to her. It
Again, I
makes no,
think it's because they just want to meet her.
yeah, I think you're
Because
right about that.
let me ask you this, okay? And this, let's pretend like even with all the animosity, okay? Don't you think that you would like to meet her? It, like if she or see her, like it wouldn't, if you were at a party and she
Mhm,
was there, and let's say these people at the Hamptons, a lot of them didn't like her or whatever. Fine.
mhm.
But I think that some people still want to meet the person just to see for themselves.
Yeah, I think
And I don't, it's just like, oh, it's Meghan Markle. I'd like to meet her or whatever. It doesn't mean that I like her. It doesn't mean, it's a celebrity. I would like to meet her. And that's kind of how I think of it, is just, oh, she's somebody I'd like to see. If I saw Prince Harry in Montecito or whatever, um, you know, if you had the chance to meet him, I think that you would, and then it would give you a little bit more perspective. You go, okay, this guy's adult, or whatever.
yeah.
Um, just to have that kind of perspective, because when it comes to, and I always said when Harry was in England before Meghan, it was impossible for me to get any royal gossip. The only way I ever got royal gossip is if he went to Calgary or Vegas or something like that, and somebody talked. That's basically the only way.
Mhm.
And with Meghan, then especially when they were first starting and she hadn't really abandoned all of her Canadian friends, there was a lot of gossip to be had. And and you still dug some out this week about the hockey player and stuff, right? And everything like that.
Oh
So
yeah.
there was a lot of gossip to be had. And, I find that part interesting. And one of the things about gossip is it gets you like this perspective. So if you talk to Jessica Mulroney about it, she's going to have a different perspective than somebody like this L'Oreal person who spent 20 minutes with Meghan where she's on her best behavior.
Mhm.
And it's completely different than the reality stars that she would hang out with in England, who have, oh, she would come over and we get hammered on wine and stuff, and then all of a sudden she abandoned me. And so you kind of put these kind of things together, but it's always nice to see for yourself and to meet the person and go, okay, yep, she's horrible, just like I thought.
Now let me pose this question. If you were at an event and Meghan and Harry walked in and they asked you, would you like to meet these two? Would you?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
What would you ask them? Just wondering.
um That's a good question about what I would ask them. I would say this. I would ask, how's the cooking show coming? How's ARO coming? And I
Mhm.
would be very solicitous, and
Okay.
I would say something like that. And I would ask Harry, how's the polo show going and stuff like that? I think it's a really good idea, which I've said on here. I think that you can make the polo show extremely interesting. If you made it like the F1 show on Netflix, I think that you can make the polo show really interesting. That's not the way they're going, but I think that you can make that show interesting. And I would probably say that to him.
Mhm.
And then I would ask Meghan, how's the cooking show? What kind of things did you cook? And stuff like that. I would try and get some kind of insight into it so that way I could be more knowledgeable when I was discussing it. But I would certainly talk to them. And those are the three questions I would probably ask.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I wasn't expecting that. Very, very diplomatic. Very diplomatic. But if you ask them that, they'd probably have you kicked out of the party.
That's the thing, right? So if then they decided that they wanted to kick me out of the party,
Mhm.
then you're like, okay, these people really, because I've asked them very innocent questions.
Yeah.
And especially if it's in LA, everybody's got an opinion on a show. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's trying to steal somebody else's idea. So, you know, and it would be interesting to see what kind of answer, she would give to the cooking thing and stuff. And also Harry. And I would like to interact with Harry just to see how intelligent he is or isn't.
Mhm.
From what I heard about this documentary, all the questions were, you know, in advance and stuff like that, and that it still took forever
Yeah.
to film it. And so I'd really like, okay, can you not keep an answer straight? Can you not keep the party line straight? You know, is he not knowledgeable about the subject? Just, why did it take so long when he knew all the questions in advance?
Yeah, I feel like with that interview, there was a lot of back and forth before he actually sat down with Becca. I forget her name, Rebecca Berry. I feel like the reason why I say that is because when Harry goes to sit down with her, he says, "Oh, it's nice to finally meet you in person after everything." And I don't
Right?
know if that was supposed to be left in or if that was supposed to get edited out, but I was like, so they must have been chit-chatting back and forth for a long time before they did this, because everyone knows Harry and Meghan always need to pre-approve all the questions and everything before interviews. So they know everything.
Yeah. Do you remember it came out this week and
Mm.
I didn't have time to dig into it, but it was something that a BBC reporter said, and I think it might have been the interviewer for when Meghan and Harry, like their first interview, and how she
Yeah.
had wanted probably Oprah or something, but that she has the BBC, and how Meghan said it was all set up and everything like that, and it was all pretend, and the BBC was like, no, it wasn't. Um, and it's
Yeah.
just those kind of things where they're totally contradicting, Megan, and oh, no, it was all a setup and it was all arranged and we took off our coats, and the BBC guys were like, it wasn't like that at all.
Yeah. With Michelle Hussein. She is one of the
Yes.
well regarded journalists, reporters.
Yeah.
So for like she never comes out and says anything, but she actually came out and said, no, this isn't like the way Meghan is trying to portray it, that it was all set up and fake and blah. Like it wasn't like that. So, I mean, it just seems like they seem to always bite the hand that feeds them or to break or burn bridges in a way. They never seem grateful for the opportunities that they've been given. They make sure that they burn the bridge with that person so that they can never go back, which is crazy to me.
Yeah. Why burn the BBC bridge? She wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah.
It's only because you brought it up that she decided to say something.
Mhm.
That's, you know, that's
Yeah.
the crazy part to me, is that why burn that bridge when you didn't have to?
Yeah, this is what I'll never understand about them is that they go and do things like that. And it's like, well, why? Because you might need the BBC one day. You might need that reporter one day when your divorce comes down the pipe and you're railing Harry against the press. Like, you're going to need these people on your side.
That I just And then I feel like she's done the same thing to Oprah, right?
Mhm.
That she's kind of burned that bridge with Oprah.
Completely burned it to the ground.
And I
Now,
just
do you,
Go ahead. Yeah.
sorry, I was going to ask because you had a blind about them being at a Tyler Perry event in December. Now, I was just wondering if they were going to burn that bridge before December rolls around, because who knows?
I think that, it's a Paley Awards, right? So it's a really kind of hoity-toity thing. And the thing is that and I can't remember all the presenters, but I think like Halle Berry and some others are involved in this.
Mhm.
And I can't remember the list from when I wrote the blind item, but I went through and I said that I think they're the sixth build, right? So
Yeah.
whenever I went through, I said, okay, they're higher on the list, 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 right? So, you're not going to make, and I can't remember if it's Halle Berry. Okay. I'm just going to say for whatever that it is. And let's say Halle Berry is like, I'm not going first. No way. And I don't know if there's somebody higher on the list than Halle, but I'm not going first. I'm gonna do the actual presenting of the award or whatever, and or whoever is the A list of that, right? The A list, okay, I'm gonna give the award. Okay, well, I'm gonna do the retrospective. Okay. I'm going to do the one who talks about the history. Oh, what, great. So what does that leave, Meghan and Harry? My understanding, they're going to have to be first, probably, and just say, we were fortunate enough when we met Tyler and we think he's great. And maybe they won't even get to present. Maybe they won't get to talk. Maybe they're just going to be there. And
Mhm.
so I think that they think that they are going to be the person that actually gives him the award. And that's not going to happen. And once they find out that's not going to happen, and they're not going to get to do the retrospective, and they're not going to get to do the other stuff, that they might not show up.
Yeah. I mean, if they don't get their way, Megan doesn't like it with her demands and stuff. She needs her list of demands met with her.
Right. And if she bails, then it's the same thing that she did with Serena. It's just like, it's not what we were expecting. So good luck. See you on the other side.
Yeah, how long do you think? Like, I mean, this whole Meghan and Harry charade, I think it's pretty obvious to myself and maybe you that Meghan can't stand Harry and Harry can't stand her either. You had a blind not too long ago about did the something along the lines of did the illiterate one refer to her husband as a bitch? And then they had released an interview this morning on Twitter that they're doing with CBS on Sunday. And you can just see Meghan's facial reactions towards Harry, like disdain, disgust. You can see, like, the minute he starts talking, she cannot stand him. How long do you think they're going to keep this farce of being an in love couple going for? How long do you think this is going to last, Enty,
I,
before the
I,
divorce hits the fan?
I'm glad you brought this up. Okay.
Yeah.
And let's not even think of it in the divorce perspective.
Okay.
Think of it like this. Um, we've already talked about the fact that it took Harry multiple times to get the story straight with his interview. Okay. So think about it like this. Meghan knows how to learn her lines. Meghan knows what she's supposed to say, know what she's supposed to do. She stays on script, right? She doesn't improvise. She's ready to go. She can handle it. And look at all the things that you point out when you do your little videos and stuff where you say, look, she's shoving him aside. She's doing this. She's interjecting. She's doing this. It's because she's so frustrated that he is not sticking with the party line. He's not sticking with what they agreed to do. He's go to the Kevin Costner award. Look, you're supposed to hand him the award. How dumb are you? I'm giving you to give him the award, and I think she gets so frustrated in that situation. And it's like she's trying to carry him across the finish line and he can't do it. And she just gets so frustrated. It's kind of like when Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck or whatever, and Ben always looks like he's a miserable, soul. And Jennifer's like, look, you have to smile. You have to smile. So then the next time they go out, he's smiling, right? It's the same kind of thing with Meghan. Okay, Harry, I need you to do this. I need you to stand over here. My side looks best over here. So you need to be over here. You need to do this. You can't, it just, she probably gives him 100 instructions and gets extremely upset when he doesn't follow those instructions. So at what point does he say enough? I don't know, because I think he's scared of her, and I'm not sure that he could pull the trigger on a divorce. I think it's going to be her when she finally gets enough money.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Now, is there any man that she has her eyes on? Would any man at this point deal with Meghan Markle?
Well,
A
I
rich man.
think a rich man.
A rich
You know,
man, I should say.
there was Janet Jackson's ex was in LA.
Mhm.
And I always forget his name, but he's a billionaire. And I think that that's what she would just jump all over, is a billionaire. And she could act that part. And she could do whatever, she needs to get done to have the billionaire. That's what she wants. Um, she doesn't want to rely on people's oh, can I borrow your jet? Can I borrow your jet? She'll do it.
Mhm.
But I think that she would rather have these friends that are just like, or a husband that is just super rich and just like, I'm going to take the jet here, I'm going to take the jet there. And she probably looks on social media and sees all of these people that have managed to do that. And here she is with like basically a penny pinching guy,
Mhm.
because that's what I think Prince Harry is. Because he has a certain amount of money and then there's no more, right? There's no more. And it's like, okay, well, do we have to take the jet? Can we do this or what? And she's like, of course we have to take the jet. We have a certain, and it's that kind of thing. And I think that she's frustrated with him because he can't stand script. I think she's frustrated because he doesn't have as much money as she thought. Because honestly, unless you really look into it, you think that royals have unlimited money
Mhm.
and just astonishing amounts of money. And for the most part, they kind of do. But, if you think about William, even though he could definitely do the private jet route, making 20 something $1 million a year, and would certainly have an excuse, what do? They always fly commercial, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Almost always they fly commercial. And I think that Meghan thought, oh, it's going to be billionaires and it's going to be this and it's going to be that. And instead, you know, they got Frogmore Cottage, which needed tons of renovations and stuff like that because it's something that's been around forever and nobody was there and nobody, I, I, I just think, oh, okay. Oh, and we have to share a house, not Frogmore, but we have to share a place with William and Catherine and stuff. And I think that she thought it was going to be one thing and it's completely different.
Yeah.
And because I think
I
people have this thing where they think royals are just tremendously rich and just have billions of dollars to do whatever they want.
See, I feel like Megan had the whole Disney La La Land fairy tale life of royals stuck in her head. I honestly think that she believed that if she became a princess, it would be nothing but wearing tiaras and ball gowns all day, going on A-list vacations to like the most first class, amazing locations, and then showing up to give a speech here and there. But it was all castles, vacations, and spending money, shopping sprees, just like how it's portrayed in the movies. I feel
Yes,
that's what like, and it absolutely boggles me that she didn't take a second to just look into it, because you and I, when we look at the royals, we see the work that they put in. We saw that Diana would be going to these charities, visiting people. And why would she have this kind of distorted image in her head that it was more like a Disneyland fairy tale? I don't understand that.
I think she thinks of like Diana with, oh my gosh, look at these designers just throwing clothes at her and stuff like that. And oh, and this and look, the billions and oh, she's got people to wait on her hand and hand over foot. And you think about Megan on Suits when she's on the show, like actually on set. She has people, basically at her beck and call, right? Production assistants and stuff like that. And then she
Mhm.
goes home to her condo and she doesn't have that. And then she's thinking, "Oh, and so she starts kind of like trying to trade up, trade up, trade up, need somebody a little bit, more. And she's no different than other, people that are trying to get a bag, male or female. They're trying to get a bag. They're trying to, work their way up and find somebody rich. And so she goes, gosh, I've got a prince. I've got this guy, and he's got to be worth billions and billions. And we're going to have servants everywhere, hundreds of them. And it is going to be like this fairy tale. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, you got to live in this dingy place. We're going to fix it up for you. And, it's, record scratch. And this is just, and there's drama and there's rules and you have to do this and you have to curtsy and you have to do this and you have to do that. And if you want to be a part of this, this is what you're going to have to do.
Mhm.
And she's like, well, no, but I want my Princess Diaries kind of thing. I want, you know,
I want
I,
now.
I want my Grace Kelly thing. I want, I think maybe that's what she envisioned was like a Grace Kelly type of thing.
Yeah.
And but we've seen how that kind of turns out because Princess Charlene or whatever is, scarred for life and saw what a horror show it can be. And but I think that she thought, like you said, like it was going to be the movies and it was just going to be this wonderful kind of life. And yes, from time to time, I'll have to attend a charity function and pretend I care about the commoners. And then I'll go back to my castle and have designers, putting me stuff, giving me stuff made to order. I'll have Birkins everywhere. And, it wasn't like that.
Yeah, I truly believe like in my mind, the way that I see it is that Megan always likes to get back at people. And I feel like with her finally sinking her claws into Harry, not only did she think that living the royal life would be a dream, but she also thought that she could come back to Hollywood where she never made it, and that all of a sudden every single director will throw themselves at her because she is the Duchess of Sussex. I remember all of the what was it, articles that we were seeing that, oh, these female producers and directors, one of them, I forget, Ava something, was going to put her in one of her movies, and Megan's going to be the star of Marvel. And there were all of these puff stories coming out. And I believe that she thought in her head, for some reason, she would go marry Harry and come back to Hollywood, and all the scripts that were never coming her way would come her way. And it just didn't happen that way.
This is how I think she saw it. Number one, She thought that she's gonna, like you said, this is a fairy tale, billions, everybody hand over feet toast. Oh my gosh, you're the greatest person, living in some glorious castle and stuff like that. That's number one. Oh, that didn't work out. Okay. Well, let's see. Okay, well, I'm the Duchess of Sussex. And then we get to your version where this is part two because part one didn't work out, right? It didn't, it was just, that's not what I imagined. Okay, so we'll go to Hollywood. And now because I am the Duchess of Sussex, they'll be throwing themselves and I can do this and I can do that. I can do this. And they're like, you know, you're not marketable. You're a novelty, something like that. And what she should have done is she should have looked at Grace Kelly because Grace Kelly thought, oh, I can still have my acting career. And Grace Kelly was at the peak of her career. And
Mm.
then, he was like, no, you gotta just, you're gonna have kids and you're gonna be here and no more Hollywood for you. And I think that that was a huge crushing moment for Grace Kelly, but she couldn't go back to Hollywood because then she'd be giving up this royal life or whatever. But Meghan goes, I'm not going to do that. I am going to go back to Hollywood and they're just going to fall over themselves because they love me. And then she realized, okay, they don't love me and I'm having to hustle, which she did before, right? All actors and actresses hustle. And I am not ever going to denigrate her hustle because she is trying to play the game as best as she can. However, like, okay, I don't like the chef. I'm going to go with this guy. I'm going to go with the producer. I'm going to go with the cooking guy. I'm going to go with the hockey guy. I'm going to, hey, journalist, do you know any rich, famous athletes or whatever that I can be with and stuff like that? And she's just always hustling, hustling, hustling. But she thought when she was with Harry that the hustling was done. And here she is back to hustling again. Yes, she's got more fame than she did with Suits or, given the BJ and 90210, but there's just like, she's still having to hustle. And I don't think she wants that. She just wants everything handed to her like she thought she was going to have. And she's boxed herself into a corner and everybody hates her and she doesn't know what to do.
She's almost come back full circle and is starting where she left.
100%. She's doing the TIG.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed. She's,
Nothing has changed at all. You know what? I have no problems with a woman who hustles either. I love a woman who wants to go and get their bag. There are gold diggers out there who are amazing at digging for gold, but they aren't pretending to be philanthropists, humanitarians who care about people. Now, I'm just saying, Meghan Markle, if you want to be that woman who just wants to marry a rich man, lay on your back, go on vacations to five-class resorts, be that woman. Be it and like say it with your whole chest, right? I have no problems with that kind of woman. There's a lot of women that are in the position where they are now because they wanted to be gold diggers. They want that lifestyle. I have no problems with it. But don't lie and pretend to be a feminist, humanitarian, philanthropist, cares about the little people, has compassion for families, and blah, 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 XYZ, when you are all of those and you're not. You
yeah,
are not one of those people. That is what I think gets me going because I'm just like, you know what? I don't care, Meghan. If you wanted to find a rich man and just live your life on like an A-class airplane going to resorts, I don't care. But it's the whole, I'm trying to be a compassionate person. I care about online censorship. No, you care about online censorship because you don't want people to find your old tweets and photos of before. That's what it's about. I mean, it's just this whole farce and lie. I think people don't like the lie and they can see through it. Like, just be honest with the public. Just be honest.
yeah. And I think that she's starting to pull away from that. I think that she's finally just like, I don't really care. And if you notice, she's putting less and less effort into that part, right?
Hmm.
Especially with the podcast going and everything. She's like, from time to time, they throw something out there like on the Nigeria trip or whatever, but it's not front and center. But I think that what you said is 100% correct. That if she had to do it over again, she would just find a billionaire and
Hmm.
just do that. And I think that's what she wanted. And she thought she had it, but she didn't realize that the royal family is not some like a billionaire who can just throw a bunch of money around and she can have that kind of life that she wanted. And she got stuck.
Yeah.
And
Didn't do her homework well, that's for
She did
sure.
not. She did not.
I mean, if
Okay.
Meghan's really looking for a rich man, she could have gone over to Monaco or Switzerland, where there are more millionaires per capita in that place. Like you went to the wrong place, Meghan. But yeah,
You did. You did. But she thought she was getting the bag and she's not.
yeah.
Um, so I appreciate you spending an hour with me, and tell everybody where they can find you, and tell everybody about your new what time you go on Friday nights, because everybody should check that out.
So Andrew POV and I do a new Friday evening show, which is on every Friday. It starts at what time does it start at? 8 p.m. Pacific time, which is about 10:30 10 o'clock Central time. It's always on my YouTube, but we have our amazing Friday night shows and they get pretty rowdy and crazy. And we talk about everything. And if anyone is interested in following or joining in, you can find me online at YouTube or Facebook, or not Facebook, YouTube and Twitter at Meghan's Mole. Like that is my handle across every single platform. If you see Meghan's Mole, that's me. So find us there, find me there. And Enty, thank you again so much for spending this hour with me. Like I love having conversations with you. So I appreciate the fact that you can make some time for me and my rants and stuff here.
No, I appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity to like really talk things out, which I can't really do if I'm just talking to myself. So I like that. And you guys really go check out the Friday night thing. It is crazy. There's, sometimes as many as a couple thousand people on there. So go check it out. And I appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys later.